Okay, so when you picture Monaco, what's the first thing that uh, really pops into your head?
Oh, definitely the yachts, right? The harbor packed with them.
Yeah, the yachts, maybe the Grand Prix, that roar of the engines,
Yeah.
or even the royal family.
Exactly. It screams extreme wealth, glamour.
It really does.
Mm.
But what if I told you, and this is kind of wild, that some scientists are quietly suggesting Monaco's biggest treasure isn't actually sitting in its banks.
Go on.
They think it's, and this is the phrase they use, in its blood.
Wow. Okay. That's a really provocative idea, isn't it?
Wow.
Because, yeah, everyone knows Monaco as this, like, playground for the super rich, a tax haven. But this idea that there's a unique, maybe even controversial genetic profile within the actual Monegasque people, that's something else.
It really is. And honestly, it's a story that's pretty unique in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what we're going to try and unpack today. This isn't front page news. It's the sort of thing scientists are discussing, maybe cautiously, behind their lab doors, away from the spotlight.
Far from the paparazzi, for sure.
Definitely. So we're going to dive deep, try and decode this hidden story about the DNA of one of the wealthiest places on Earth, tailored just for you listening.
Okay, so let's tackle it head on then. This whole Monaco gene idea is like a real biological thing, or is it maybe more of a genetic mirage?
That's the core question.
Because you've got over a century of Monaco being this global magnet for the ultra-wealthy, logically you'd expect a huge amount of genetic mixing from all that immigration, right?
That's exactly what I would assume. Constant influx of people from all over the world.
Yeah.
So what did the researchers actually find? Did they see that mixing or something else?
Well, this is where it gets surprising. Despite all that immigration, they found that Monaco's really strict residency rules
Okay.
and also this generational clustering of certain often aristocratic European families means that the core group of actual native Monegasques is tiny. We're talking fewer than, 9,700 people.
Wow, that's small.
Yeah. And that small group has somehow managed to keep a genetic signature that's, well, remarkably distinct.
Okay. Distinct how? What makes it stand out?
Well, what's really striking is that this native Monegasque lineage, it's actually less genetically diverse than you might think.
Less diverse. Interesting.
Yeah. Their mitochondrial DNA that traces the maternal line and their Y chromosome patterns tracing the paternal line, they closely mirror ancestry from the Ligurian coast nearby in Italy.
So like a connection to the region's older populations.
Exactly. It suggests this surprising genetic continuity, almost like a bubble. And even more fascinating, they seem to carry certain rare gene markers.
Augurs for what?
Things linked to exceptional longevity and also better cardiovascular efficiency.
Okay, longevity and heart health. That
Nice.
sounds potent. But I have to ask, hearing about distinct genetic signatures and rare markers in such an elite place, my mind immediately jumps to the ethics. Are people raising red flags about this?
Oh, absolutely. And they should. This research isn't without its serious critics. Many argue, quite forcefully, that focusing too much on Monaco genes gets uncomfortably close to, well, a modern form of eugenics.
Right. Suggesting biology justifies privilege.
Exactly. The worry is it could be misused to falsely link social status and extreme wealth to some kind of inherent biological, superiority. It's a really tricky, sensitive area.
No kidding. A very fine line.
Yeah.
So, okay, given that controversy, what does the actual data show? You mentioned a big European demographic genomic scan in 2022. What did that reveal?
Right, that stand provided some hard numbers, and they're pretty revealing. It confirmed, first off, that native Monegasques make up only about 21% of the total population living in Monaco.
Only a fifth. Okay.
But, and this is the kicker, that small minority controls nearly 60% of the hereditary property and holds significant civic power.
60%. Wow.
Yeah. So what this disparity suggests is this potential feedback loop, right? Where inherited wealth and power help maintain a degree of genetic isolation.
Which in turn helps consolidate that power across generations.
Yeah, precisely. It's like a living case study of how social structures and biology can influence each other. It's apparently whispered about a lot in Monaco's political circles, but you don't see it discussed much in the scientific journals.
That is a striking dynamic.
Yeah.
So even if the genetics are distinct, could it be that this immense social and economic power is actually the driver for some of the health outcomes rather than just the genes themselves?
That is absolutely the central debate.
And when you look closer at those specific genetic markers you mentioned, like for longevity, what did they find there?
Okay, so delving into the specifics, it gets even more complex, but also really intriguing. They found a significantly higher prevalence, about 17% higher, of something called the FOXO3A allele among native Monegasques.
FOXO3A. What does that do?
So for context, this allele is a specific version of a gene, and it's pretty well known in aging research. It plays a role in how cells handle stress and repair themselves.
Ah, okay. So linked to resilience, potentially longer life.
That's the connection researchers make, yeah. It's definitely interesting in the context of lifespan and cellular health. But the huge question remains.
Is it the genes or the lifestyle?
Exactly. Is this higher prevalence purely genetic? Or is it maybe amplified or even just made visible by the fact that these individuals have access to literally the best healthcare money can buy, amazing diets, low stress, the ultra luxury effect?
That debate seems like it could go on forever. And wasn't there something else? Something about Alzheimer's?
Yes, adding another layer, a 2019 study noted something else interesting, an unusually low prevalence of the APOE4 variant in native-born Monegasque.
And APOE4 is the one strongly linked to increased Alzheimer's risk.
Yeah. That's the one. It's a major genetic risk factor. So finding it at low levels is definitely noteworthy.
Yeah.
However, and you flagged this earlier, there's a massive caveat.
Let me guess. Sample size.
Bingo. The sample size for that particular study was tiny, really small. So while it's an interesting observation, neurologists are, quite rightly, very skeptical. It's suggestive, maybe, but absolutely not conclusive.
Okay, so interesting hints, but need much more data. Now, we've talked about the general native population, but let's face it, there's kind of the elephant in the room, or maybe the elephant in the palace.
You mean the Grimaldis?
Exactly, the House of Grimaldi. They've ruled Monaco since, 1297?
An incredibly long time.
And their history involves centuries of marriages, often based on strategic alliances, consolidating power, sometimes maybe even just beauty or perceived attractiveness.
Indeed. And this is where the research gets even more, let's say, sensitive and speculative.
How so?
Well, apparently several members of the current royal line are being quietly studied.
Seriously? Studied for what?
For genetic markers related to things like facial symmetry,
Wow.
height-related growth factors, and even, get this, neurochemical balances potentially linked to charisma.
Charisma genes. Okay, now that sounds like science fiction.
It borders on it, doesn't it? But the researchers involved are, understandably, being extremely cautious.
I should hope so. What are they actually saying, cautiously?
Well, they sort of tentatively admit that you could see a clustering of certain genetic traits over centuries, especially traits that might feed into visual appeal or social presence.
Because of deliberate marriage choices over generations.
That's the hypothesis, what they call curated intermarriage among elites. It suggests this really fascinating, if ethically murky, interplay between social choices and potential genetic outcomes over a long, long time.
But I imagine the critics have a field day with that idea.
Oh, absolutely. The pushback is strong. Critics immediately jump on this, labeling it genetic beauty bias.
Yeah, I can see that.
They basically slam it as pseudoscience, arguing it's just an attempt to find a biological justification for inherited privilege and, frankly, outdated or subjective beauty standards.
So it sounds like there's this huge divide then. After looking at all this, are scientists genuinely split? Is Monaco's supposed genetic distinctiveness a real biological phenomenon, or is it maybe just an illusion created by those incredible living conditions?
They really are split. It's a genuine divide in the scientific community. There's no consensus here.
And you can see why, right? I mean, the environmental factors for native Monegasques are just off the charts.
Totally.
Think about it. Universal access to truly elite healthcare from birth. Diets naturally rich in things like omega-3s, low in processed foods, just by virtue of location and wealth.
Right.
Plus, a culture that encourages physical activity, even just walking that hilly terrain.
It's a potent combination for good health, absolutely, regardless of your underlying genes.
So how do you untangle that?
Well, this is where it gets even more cutting edge. Some researchers are bringing in epigenetics.
Epigenetics. So not changing the genes themselves, but how they're expressed.
Exactly. Think of it like dimmer switches on your genes. Epigenetics involve changes in gene activity, turning genes up or down without altering the actual DNA sequence. And these changes can be influenced by your environment and lifestyle.
Like diet, stress, exercise.
Precisely. So the argument some researchers are making is that these amazing environmental benefits enjoyed by monegasques for generations might have actually led to epigenetic modifications.
Leaving a sort of environmental imprint on their gene expression.
Potentially, yes, which could then lead to observable generational shifts in things like biological aging markers. It's a fascinating layer to add.
So it kind of begs the question, is Monaco, almost by accident, this giant long-term experiment in ultra-well-being genetics?
That's a really provocative way to put it. Is it a blueprint for maximizing human health span, maybe? Or is it more of a cautionary tale about how extreme privilege could perhaps inadvertently create a sort of biological divide?
That's a heavy question. And it clearly has implications way beyond this tiny principality.
Absolutely. I mean, you connect this to the growing interest and anxiety around things like designer babies, genetic editing.
CRISPR and all that.
Right. And Monaco's so-called privileged genome, whether real or perceived, has apparently started popping up in quiet discussions within bioethics forums.
Which leads to some really tough ethical questions, doesn't it? Should we even be conducting these kinds of gene studies in such unique elite microstates?
Or does doing so risk just reinforcing social elitism under the guise of science?
Are we measuring genuine biological differences or just the downstream effects of immense wealth and power?
It's something scientists themselves are actively grappling with, and it leaves us, and you listening, with this really intriguing, maybe slightly unsettling thought.
Is it possible that a new kind of genetic elite is forming? Not necessarily in some secret sci-fi lab, but maybe quietly, in places like tax havens.
It's a powerful question to ponder.
So wrapping this up, Monaco's gene pool, it's undeniably tiny, it's exclusive, and it's quite possibly skewed by all these factors we've discussed.
But it's also this incredibly unique window, isn't it? A case study into how wealth, national policies, social structures, and maybe biology can all intersect in really complex and surprising ways.
Definitely. And that brings us to you, our listener. We've thrown a lot out there.
Yeah, what do you think about all this? Should scientists keep exploring the genetics of elite groups in places like Monaco? Is there something genuinely unique there, biologically?
Or is it just that they're rich enough and isolated enough to look that way genetically?
And maybe the biggest question, how careful do we need to be about confusing outcomes driven by incredible lifestyles with some kind of inherited biological superiority?
It's your turn now. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Challenge the science, share your perspective, ask your own questions.
Is the Monaco gene a myth? Or is it a genuine modern-day mystery we're just starting to unravel?